んにちは、和葉です。今日は中国人のキャスパーにインタビューをしてきました。盛りだくさんなので、まずは第1弾です。それでは動画へどうぞ。
My name is Casper.
What do you study here?
I'm a third year cognitive linguistics student in Leiden University.
Like, where did you exactly got the education, had the education?
I completed my high school in China, and then after the high school graduation, I moved here and started my university in Uva, Amsterdam. But then the program wasn't exactly what I was expecting, so I moved in Leiden, and now I'm happily lived after.
So the previous uni, what did you study?
I studied PPRE, so it's a joint program with psychology, politics, law, and economics. So that was pretty intense.
So literally you study everything,
literally study everything. And just a fun fact that the Dutch princess Amelia is right now studying the same program, the PPRE. So if I had stayed, I might be classmate with him, but But I'm glad I chose a different study because right now I'm much happier.
In China, what kind of education system there are? For example, in Japan, there is 6 years of primary school, 3 years of middle school, and then 3 years high school, and we go to uni.
Yeah, we have exactly the same. 6-year elementary school, 3 years middle school, 3-year high school.
So you went to primary school, middle school, high school in
Yes,
China?
like every education that's before university level, I did in China.
For the primary school, what kind of primary school did you go to?
I just went to a very ordinary, I think, public elementary school in my city. I lived very close to the elementary school, so because in China, you don't get to choose where you can go to elementary school. Like you can't say, okay, I live in the south area and I really like an elementary school in the north. It doesn't work like that. You go to the elementary school that is classified under your education area. So if I grew up in the south, my parents, my family had a house in the south, they have job in the south, then I mostly likely go to the elementary school or middle school in the south area. So it's not like we can point at some school and say we want to go there. No, it really depends on where you live. That's why I think in China, some people are trying to move to a higher end area to receive a better education, because in a better neighborhood, in a better area, there's more likely there's a better school. Yeah.
So in the city area, there is more better education.
Yeah.
But in rural area, maybe a lot.
Yeah, in general, yes. In the city, there's always better education, and there's less advanced education provided for the kids in the countryside.
There is a private school as well.
I'm not really familiar with the private school education system in China, because I think private school, this kind of concept, it's very normalized in Western world instead of China, because I've never heard of any of my friends that went to a private school.
Really?
For elementary school, nah. We have private kindergarten, but that's wow. Yeah, so the most thing I heard I'm more familiar with is private university or a private high school, and that's mostly just international school, and private kindergarten, but I haven't heard of anyone go to private middle school.
That's interesting, because in Japan there is also private elementary school and middle school, and the private school, they teach them special additional courses compared to the traditional, ordinary ones. So some parents want their children to get into the private ones, so they force them to study hard when they're in kindergarten or either elementary school.
Okay.
You guys don't have that kind?
I think we might, but you really have to look it up on the internet, because I'm not a reliable source at all. And also, I think it really depends on city. Because I assume in city like Shanghai or Beijing, this kind of huge capital economic center of such a big country like China, they probably have it. But in my city, I grew up in a city called Chongqing. It's southwest of China. The economy is gradually going upwards, but still it's not really compatible or competitive as Shanghai or Beijing. So maybe in my city I haven't heard of it, but I can say people who grew up in Shanghai, they might be more familiar with it.
How about like what kind of middle school did you go? Same like ordinary one as well?
It's the same like my elementary school. I went to a middle school that's in my area because, okay, wait. I also went to a public middle school, and it's just like elementary school. There's nothing really special about it, and I've never heard of anyone go to a private middle school because there are only few in my cities.
So getting into middle school, you didn't have any like examinations
Oh,
or
okay.
stuff like that?
So for middle school, actually, wait, did we? No, we didn't, because like elementary school, middle school, and kindergarten, they're like the mandatory education, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't really need an exam to enter middle school. It's like covered by the government. But once you finish middle school and you want to go to high school, then you need an exam, because the higher grade you get, the better school you can go to. But for middle school, I think it's still mostly depending on where you live, what kind of neighborhood you live, that kind of thing.
When you were in primary school or like middle school, what did you do? Like maybe did you go out with friends after schools? Like what normally Chinese kids do?
For elementary school, I don't remember that much.
True.
That would be weird if I remember every single day after school. So I can't say anything about elementary school, but I guess any normal kids would, like ordinary kids would do, just hang out in the playground and go to some convenience store, buy the very shitty quality but delicious kind of snack, you know. And then you just eat it, hide it from your parents, and eat some gums before you go home. That's what I do after school. And in middle school, so I wasn't exactly the good student in middle school. I'm like really naughty. I always cut off teachers. Like, hey, no, I don't think, like, it's not in a vicious way. It's just like, I think I'm cool, so I'm gonna cut off the teacher just to, say something. That kind of kid. So, because I was that kind of kid, I also attract that kind of kid as my friends. So we're just a big bunch of, hey, we know everything. We hate everyone. That kind of kid. Sorry. So I think my middle school after class activity, it's just strolling around the city.
Did you join any like sports team after school activities? Does the Chinese schools have like after school activities? Because in Japan we have that as a like school system.
We do have after-school activities, but that's like not mandatory at all. It really depends on your parents. Like if your parents want you to work harder, have a better grade, maybe you will go to a specific like agency that's gonna help you study math or like English or that kind of thing. But it's not mandatory at all, because the after-school system, none of them is public owned. It's all private agencies. So it's more likely they're expensive, and also it's not mandatory anyway. And outside of like academics, like the actual serious school stuff, you can also choose to play a sports. Like my parents sent me to the most typical Chinese sport ever, table tennis. I know. So I did that for a few years in elementary school, then in middle school, but then I thought I was too cool for it. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do this anymore, so I stopped playing it. But you can do various activities after school, but it's not mandatory, and it really depends on what you like and what your parents think.
About the table tennis, how many people, how many is too broad question, but most of them play like table tennis in China?
Well, not most of them. I can only say it's a very popular sport because the Chinese people are so good at it.
Yeah, true.
And once they're really good at it, they want to be the best. because that's the only sport. I don't know if there are other sports. So that's the only sport that I'm aware of that it's been taken by Chinese state for so many years, and there's only like Japan to compete or like Korea, but like other Western countries or anywhere else, it's like none of the podium, like not even close. So I'd say Chinese people are pretty obsessive when it comes to table tennis because they're like, yeah, we're the best, so we're gonna keep it to be the best. And also the thing is, table tennis is not exactly a very energy draining sport. Like yes, we run around, we play the tennis, we hit the ball, but it's unlike tennis and it's not like running.
Yeah.
So you don't actually need to be very physically strong or gifted to do that. It's just a table. And so yeah.
Yeah, if you start from earlier age, then maybe like there's like more opportunities that you can be a professional.
That's true.
Right.
But still, I think it's a popular sport for two reasons. One, the Chinese people are just really good at it. And second, it's like, I don't know, it doesn't require a big stadium to do this.
Yeah, true.
And it's just a pretty easy, like down to the earth, that kind of sports. So, yeah.
Do you play that during like the PE classes in middle school?
Well, yeah. So PE class, usually the teacher will just let you warm up together for 10 minutes and then you're free to do whatever you want.
Oh.
I know. I don't know, at least in my city it was like that. They're just like, okay kids, 10 minutes, we just stretch, and then the rest of the half an hour we just do whatever we want. And most people just went to a convenience store, just stay here and like, that's our PE class.
Really?
We really don't care. I don't know. Different city, different culture. Yeah, but it really depends. They are not forcing you to do any sport, but you know, you will do yourself some good if you do some sports.
So does that mean like the studying, like math, Chinese, other science, histories are more important than...
Yes, they are way more important. We don't care about your physical health. You can be lying in a hospital bed, but still do the math. No, just kidding. That's exaggerating. But still, yes, it is so much more important than your what we call hobby. Like even like the art, music, and computer science, the curriculum in high school, middle school, they are mandatory. You have to take it, but they are treated so much less serious. Like you just have to attend, and then you just have to draw something, explain it, and that's all. Like there's nothing really about it. But when it comes to the main subjects, Chinese, English, math, it's much more intense. Yeah.
So like if you get like higher points for that, you can go to maybe higher levels of high schools, unis, you mean, right?
But yes, for people who would already wanted to go to art school, they might just want to work on their art project, the portfolio more, so they will put aside for the main studies because that's not their focus anyway. So yeah, but usually in the general public, people will focus on the main subjects more because that scores the most and that gives them the higher opportunity to go to a better university or school.
How intense did you study to get into the high school?